'em up, drink 'em down, whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well.
Sounds like a party in here.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Welcome to it. It's show number 219, which makes us...
halfway to 300.
Yeah, there we go. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. We are absolutely stoked and psyched to be here, and today we have, I think, a very fun show coming up. And then I'm excited actually about the next couple of weeks, because the next couple of weeks we've got some of the best guests we've ever had on Smokin' and Toastin' will be returning.
I love that.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about that in just a minute. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to tell you and show you, if you're watching on video, how to make a perfect black and tan. Now, the thing about black and tan is it's not hard. But apparently, because you basically pour one and then you pour the other, right? But apparently there's a little bit of technique that's involved.
I've never
doing it perfectly.
I've never attempted to make one myself.
I never have either. So we'll both be doing it for the first time today, following the directions from an article that I got from liquor.com, which has, great stuff.
All right.
And it seems very simple. So let's see how we do.
If you haven't been to liquor.com, you should go there because it's just fun.
Oh, it really is.
Like,
great.
you'll go down the hole for a while on that one.
Yeah, it's not only do they have great drink recipes, which makes it a great site for that, they also have just great articles about, things that you can try, reviews, different articles about things that are happening and exciting. And in this particular case, a great article that we'll be heating today for how to make the perfect black and tan.
The perfect black and tan.
Yeah. So we're really excited. I'm really excited about that. I haven't even had a black and tan in a long time. So I'm kind of psyched about this.
I honestly, I don't remember the last time I had one.
All right. So
my dad used to buy he enjoyed the it was called Mississippi Mud. It was a black and tan in a bottle.
There's no such thing as a black and tan in a can or a bottle.
It was weird.
There?
That's what it was called.
How does that work?
It was called Mississippi Mud. I don't remember who made it. I haven't seen it in years. So
well,
I don't
my
know if it's still
understanding of the
available.
reason black and tan works is because the density of the stout is different from the density of the ale, and so that's why they kind of stay separated rather than just mingling all together.
It's just like me and you. Like, your density and my density are totally different.
Right.
That's why we have to sit this far apart.
Reminds me of that great line in Back to the Future where
You are my
George
density.
McFly says, "You're my density." Yeah. Anybody that remembers that is laughing. Anyone that doesn't is like, what?
Nobody calls me Yella.
Yeah. So welcome to the show. It's number
Why do I
219.
remember that so much?
We are brought to you by, why don't you make like a tree and get out of here. We are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Great shirts for cigar lovers and the people who love them.
Why?
Snarky sayings on the web. MyCigarShirts.com because...
Cigars,
yes. But they have great stuff. The shirts start under $20, and they're really cool, too.
Man,
So
look at that awesome sweatshirt you're wearing.
this is actually from MyCigarShirts.com. It's the hoodie with the MyCigarShirts.com logo. So it's very affordable. You should check it out, and they are a sponsor of the show, so we are big fans
We
of
love them.
Plus, they're just cool anyway. So on today's show, in addition to making the black and tan, Drinking News returns. Our Drinking News teaser headline is, "Come quick, Rambo needs help." So I'm looking forward to that.
Come quick, Rambo needs help.
Yeah,
love that.
that's the teaser headline today for Drinking News. We're going to try some really interesting things today. I was so stoked. I cannot wait to taste the second one here. But let me tell you about the first one. The first one is called Beverly Pils. It's a Pilsner from Indie Brewing Company. And it's got the kind of Beverly Hills sign on the can. You'll see it in a minute. We also, the one I'm just like over the moon about, we've had great beers on this show from the brewery that's called Untitled Art.
Yes.
They are just like wonderfully creative. They've done some amazing things. Well, they have teamed up in a collaboration with, I'm so excited, Parish Brewing.
Oh, nice.
My number one brewery when we picked our favorite breweries for last year. So Untitled Art and Parish Brewing together, my head's about to explode. It's going to be awesome. We'll be tasting their Gulf Coast IPA, which I found this week, and I haven't tried it yet, so I'm so excited. And then from Westbrook Brewing Company, a 10th anniversary peanut butter hazelnut marshmallow stout.
That sounds yummy.
Yeah, that sounds like it's right up your alley. So
Yep.
looking forward to that. And then the Wild Turkey Long Branch. I don't know if you've had the Long Branch before.
I haven't had Long Branch. I've
Okay.
had their Forgiven,
Yeah. So
and I've had I can't remember the other one. They're outstanding.
So
Absolutely outstanding.
Long
Wild
Branch,
Turkey.
Long
pretty
Branch is aged in some very special Texas wood barrels. So we'll get to that a little bit later on in the show, and of course, drinking news, how to make a perfect black and tan, and as if that weren't enough.
But wait, there's more.
Yes.
If you listen now,
Yes.
you will also get.
Yeah. How much would you pay? Cigar Snob magazine, one of my very favorite cigar magazines, has released their entire list now of their top 25 cigars for the year 2020. So we'll be going through that
Awesome.
list.
Have you looked at
as
this
well.
list already?
I actually have not.
Sneak peek it?
I did not. No, I did not sneak peek. So I don't know what's on there.
See, I purposefully stay behind the news a lot of
Yeah.
times because we get it in here, and I like to have that honest reaction.
Well, it can be hard. And I remember a couple of shows ago when we got the full list from Cigar Aficionado for their top 25
Yes.
of the year. And I remember when I pulled it up here so we could go on the list, pulled it up on the iPad, like I couldn't help it. There was number one, and I knew what it was. Like I actually kind of wanted to not know until we said, and number one.
Right.
But there it was. It was, if you remember the EP Carrillo, the new one, I keep wanting to call it Pride, but it's what did you say, Adam? Pledge. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I
I don't know
blanked
why I
on
want to
that,
call
too.
it Pride. Pride would have been a good name for it too, but the EP Carrillo Pledge. And I've seen a couple of articles over the past couple of weeks of people who've written an article that says Cigar Aficionado's number one cigar of the year is only $11. So I guess usually the cigar of the year is a little bit pricier.
Yeah?
I think because it's a Robusto, it's a little less expensive. So anyway, we'll be looking forward to that. And gosh, there's so much going on. I'm excited to talk about it, and I'm excited about everything on the show except for one thing.
What's that?
I understand that we need to observe a moment of silence for Mr. Twirlygig.
Mr. Twirlygig.
I don't know the story. I just know he's not with us today.
Mr. Twirlygig is currently in the great Lazy Susan place in the sky.
Okay. That was good, by the way. I saw you reaching for that, but what you got was really good. What you got was really good. So what happened?
So Mr. Twirlygig came home with me, and
Because he was struggling with
he was
weak
struggling.
batteries.
He wasn't doing really well.
Yeah. I think
And,
he had COVID. I'm not sure. So it's too soon. Is it too soon for COVID
like,
jokes? I'm sorry.
My heart.
Yeah. Okay.
So he came home with me, and I shined him up, cleaned him up. Mm-hmm. I said, "You're gonna be okay, buddy." And I flipped it over, and I undid the little screw that holds the battery in, and I put a couple new batteries. I had some new batteries.
Just in case anyone is new to the show and doesn't know, Mr. Twirlygig is a round device, maybe just a little bit bigger than like a 45 RPM record, and it's a black, base. It's about, I don't know, 1.5 2 inches thick, and then shiny metallic type of top. And we could turn him on, set the beer. This is such a high-tech show.
It's pretty amazing.
We could set a beer or a bottle of whiskey or whatever on it that we were going to be tasting on the show, and it would rotate just kind of like, I don't know, it sort of made me feel like Home Shopping Network or
yes,
something.
he was
know?
our drink rotational specialist.
Exactly. So that's who Mr. Twirlygig is, an inanimate object that moves. But he was having trouble. Ian took him home, and I interrupted.
he was gasping, and I cleaned him up, made him look real good. I put some new batteries in him, and when I turned him on, he said he felt better. But when I turned him on, he just he was struggling.
Yeah.
He wasn't turning smoothly. He was kind of hitching, and then turn a little bit, and then hitch and turn a little bit. So I thought, well, this is not good. And we sat and talked about it, and I recommended surgery. And Mr. Twirlygig was okay with it. I said, but just so you know,
There's some risks involved.
you have very cheap parts. and there's
because
risk
we buy
involved.
only the best here.
You may not survive this very invasive surgery.
Yes, I got you.
So I took Mr. Twirligig apart, and I got into his clockworks in there, which were all like really crappy nylon plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a couple chewed up teeth on it and stuff like that. There's really no way to fix that. So,
Right.
so Mr. Twirligig and I said goodbye, and I told him that I would spread the love on the show.
Ian, is this the first time you've lost a patient?
Well, this is the first time I've lost a lazy Susan. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, a moment of silence for Mr.
Yes.
Twirligig.
So Mr. Twirligig, he does have an extended family.
Yes.
And we may see if someone wants to come in and take his place. We'll have to see what happens.
Well, our thoughts and prayers go out to the extended family.
We don't want to get the wrong one.
Of Mr. Twirligig. Yeah. This is true. Yeah, this is true. Well, as I often say, here on Smokin' and Toastin', we will spare every expense when it comes to,
That's right.
sound effects, special mechanical effects, things like that. So clearly we bought a cheap Mr. Twirligig, and we'll have to find
When
a
I
better
took him
one.
apart, his inside said.
Yeah, that seems about right.
And
Well,
if you've ever watched the Bugs Bunny cartoon, you know that
exactly what that sound means.
that
yeah.
is not good for mechanical parts.
It's definitely not. Oh man! So what a week. We say goodbye to Mr. Twirligig. Maybe hello soon to a family member.
Yeah, we'll see what we can come up with.
A Twirligig cousin?
I put out some feelers. We'll see if
Maybe cousin
any
Twirligig
Twirligigs respond.
Okay, it's good to know. I feel like we're just going to have to hold a beer and turn it this week.
Well,
It's
we may have to do the mechanical.
going to seem even more low tech than usual.
When we're going even lower tech,
Yeah, something bad has
we're right
happened.
next to just sitting on the floor at this
That's
point.
exactly right. Well, this is what happens when you do 219 shows, and you just get to the point sometimes that you have to do what you have to do.
True.
How was your week this week, Ian? Did you have an opportunity to smoke anything interesting?
It's funny you should ask. I did.
Yeah?
I sat on my patio today.
Oh, very interesting. It was a little chilly today, but if you were out of the wind, it wasn't too
My
bad.
patio has a nice sunny spot. I could just move a chair right into the sun, and it was perfect. Like, I've got a fenced-in backyard, so I don't get a ton of wind back. It has to be pretty breezy for it to be bad back there.
Yeah.
And then I've got a decent-sized patio, so I can kind of just move a chair into the sun if I need to. And that's always really nice. So today I sat out there and had the Crowned Heads La Coalición.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, have you had one of these?
I have not, but I've eyeballed them in the cigar
It's
store.
pretty. This was a Gordito 5x50, maybe 5x50 or 5.5x50. I put 5x50, but I can't remember if that's exactly right. 5.258 maybe.
Okay.
Like our cigar last week.
I think so, yes. 5.258 and a half.
The appearance on this dark brown, veiny, slightly oily, slightly lumpy,
Just a
firm,
beautiful cigar,
overall single band. Yeah, it's just a nice looking cigar.
It's pretty.
And it has some like texture to it. It feels good in the hand, and that's nice. I like that. The pre-light sniff on this chocolate and coffee with earth and hay, a little bit of spice going on in the background. Really kind of set up the rest of the cigar. The initial light on this was a blast of pepper and spices. This thing was immediately medium.
Really?
Yeah, it was an immediately medium cigar, and it
sometimes
was right in the middle of it. And
sometimes cigars start really mild and then build, and sometimes they start with that blast.
Right.
And you're thinking, wow, this is going to be a full
the
body,
blast
and then it
was
calms down.
only a couple puffs.
Okay.
And then it immediately was medium. It had a bad run on it immediately. I took a picture of
I
that
hate when
bad
that
run.
happens,
That should be
yeah.
up there.
Oh, yeah, I see that
Yeah, it was
now.
a bad run. Like, I was like, well, I can't just leave that. Like, that's one of those runs where it's going to get away.
You got to tend it,
So
yeah.
I tended the other side of it. The first third of this, I tended the run, seemed to be leveling out. Huge cedar and coffee notes backed by dark bitter chocolate, solid ash. The burn was pretty much corrected by the time I got through the first third of this.
After you touched it up, yeah.
Yes, the second third of this, chocolate gained a little bit of prominence. Coffee is steady. Cedar backbone with a slight gingerbread sweetness going on all throughout the palate. Really, really nice cigar. A little bit of pepper going on just to make it interesting and give you give you that nice medium kind of feel. The last third of the cedar moved forward. Gingerbread sweetness ramped up just a little bit. The bitter chocolate and coffee really rounded out the back end of the palate. Solid ash, good burn all the way through the rest of the cigar. I tended it that one time at the beginning.
Yep. And
never touched it again. It evened out. It did
I'll
great.
just say this: I don't mind doing that. Like, I don't mind if I light a cigar and it has a little burn issue, and I can correct it. I don't go through the rest of the smoke thinking, all right, well, this one wasn't very good. You know what I mean? Like, if it's correctable, I'm usually okay with it.
Once or twice.
Yeah.
Like quick corrections.
If you got to correct
no
the
problems.
whole cigar, that's a different story.
So this is a $12 cigar, though.
Okay.
And $12 cigar that you have to correct is, well, that can raise your eyebrow a little bit. However, when I corrected it once and I never had to look at it again, I never even suspected it again. I didn't even count that again.
You give it a pass.
This is a solid 5 on the scale. You get what you're paying for in this cigar. You get great flavor. Goes great with coffee. Goes great with stouts. And I know that because I had coffee this morning with it, and then I had a stout.
Of course, why not?
A friend of mine came over to swap some parts with me, some guitar parts with me, and we did the whole social distance thing. But I said, hey, go in that fridge and pick out anything out of my fridge you'd like. And he came out with the Clown Shoes Advent stout.
Yep.
And so we split
the Clown Shoes.
So it goes great with coffee. It goes great with stout.
And how much did you say the cigar was again?
$12 cigar.
12, okay.
Straight up 5 on the price to quality scale. You get exactly what you're paying for. Great cigar. Highly recommend it if you like the flavors we're talking about. Again, we're talking about lots of cedar, chocolate, coffee, and a little gingerbread sweetness. There wasn't a super deep flavor. Like, there wasn't... I didn't taste a lot of like, what is that, or this is that. They were all pretty much right up front to me, all those flavors.
Right.
And they were good.
Yeah. It sounds great. It looked great, too. Other than the little burn thing, I mean, it looked like a gorgeous cigar.
Yeah, and the burn thing, I totally forgive the burn thing because, again, like I touched it up for a moment, gone.
All right. That
no
works.
problems.
That
no
works
problems.
for me. All right. I like it. Well, I'll get to my cigar in the next segment. I had a very interesting one. Mine is actually one that I've smoked before and talked about before on the show, but it's been a while. So I will. So I returned to it today, and it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to share with you guys what that's going to be all about.
So which episode number is this again?
We are on number 219 today.
So I want to point out at this point in time when we do cigar reviews, we have to find cigars, and sometimes I have to go back and go, have I reviewed this recently? Because I'm starting to think like if we did it in the first say 60, 75 shows, it's okay if I do another review.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, and I'll talk about it when I share my tasting notes with you, but it really just seemed to me that I didn't realize, I bought the cigar specifically to review for the show, got it home and took a look back and discovered, I have already done this one before, but it had been a long time ago, and the one that I bought was a Tubo, I originally had reviewed it without the tube, so that was why I thought I had something I hadn't done before.
Gotcha.
Because it's a Liga Privada, and I was like, I haven't done a Liga Privada that's a tube, but apparently it's available either way.
Oh, so same one.
Right.
That's okay.
I almost got excited. Was a couple of weeks ago. I was in the big humidor at Specs down in Midtown, and I saw an AJ Fernandez Bella Artez in a Tubo, and I was like, oh my God, there's a Bella Artez that I haven't tried. But turns out it was one I smoke all the time.
The same
it
one,
was just
only
in a
Tubo.
tube. Yeah. So
the Tubos are handy though. I like to buy Tubos once in a while, especially my favorites. Nub Tubos are one of my absolute favorites because they're so pocketable.
Yes,
like you just stick that in your pocket.
If you're headed somewhere you don't know if you're going to have an opportunity to have a cigar or not, you want to have one just in case with you.
Yeah, and
that way you don't have to
take
a case.
It makes it home just fine
totally
if you didn't smoke it.
Totally fine. So, well, I'll tell you about this Tubo in our next segment. Plus, in our next segment, we're going to taste Beverly Pills, and no, it has nothing to do with a Weezer song. It's all about a Pilsner from Los Angeles, California. And we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Show number 219, How to Make a Perfect Black and Tan. We'll do it right here on the show coming up. I don't know if it'll be perfect, but we'll attempt. Welcome back. Oh, Adam, you gotta put the camera on the homemade Mr. Twirly gig there that Ian is creating. There we go. It just doesn't get much more low-tech than that, does it? You can see Ian's fingers turning the can of Beverly Pills. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. It is the radio program and podcast. It's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Cigar lover shirts available on the web starting at under $20. They're really awesome. They're very comfy, and I'm wearing one of the hoodies now. It's great. In fact, it's almost too warm. I may have to change in a little while.
Right.
This thing is keeping me so warm in the studio here. So anyway, check them out online, MyCigarShirts.com, because Cigars, yes. Ian, the presidential inauguration was a little more than a week ago, and you would expect that the internet would be filled with photos from the inauguration, and they are. The internet is filled with photos from the inauguration, but it's not photos of the new president or the new vice president. Instead, the photo that has taken over the inauguration is a photo of Democratic Senator Bernie Sanders sitting alone, socially distanced, in a very lonely seat at the inauguration, with his hands with these huge, enormous mittens, the face mask on, and he didn't look like he was at a formal governmental thing. He looked like he was sitting outside trying to keep warm on his front porch. And so this meme has taken over the internet. People have taken this image of Bernie Sanders with his mittens and his face mask, and they've photoshopped him into all kinds of stuff. And it's even gotten into the craft beer marketing area. In fact, Adam will put this up, but here's a photo of, well, it's a obviously an image of Bernie Sanders at the Moore Brewing Company, which you should see on your phone. There's obviously a little lag.
Yeah, there's a little delay we have here.
You'll see this in a moment, but here I can show you. I can show you just on the iPad as it comes up. Yeah, there's Bernie, and so they photoshopped him into everything. He's been at he's been on stage with BTS. He's been all over the place. But a number of craft beer companies have used Bernie in their marketing. So Bernie is our craft beer marketing hero of the week.
Bernie looks a lot like the honey badger right there.
He kind of does.
He don't give a.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Oh, so Ian, this week I mentioned that I went and got the Tubo of the Liga Privada. It's the T52 Stalk cut Toro.
For those of you not all that versed in cigars, a Tubo comes in usually a metal tube
with
a little screw cap on it, and you pull it out.
In fact, when you see the photos here, the first one that I put up was the actual tube itself before I opened it. But as Ian was saying in the last segment, makes it really handy for slipping into a pocket, taking with you, keeps it protected, keeps it reasonably well humidified if you're going to be out someplace where the air is a little dry. It's not a permanent humidification solution.
No, but if you take it out for an evening and you don't get a chance to smoke, it's certainly not going to hurt to toss it back in the humidor.
Exactly. So I bought this one, thought I had a new Liga Privada that I hadn't talked about on the show before. Turns out I had done this back on show number 86, as I recall. So, and now I have. Okay, so something weird happened. I actually believe. Okay, I got it. Sorry, I was confused for a moment. Thought I had lost this. But so the stock cut Toro is a Habano wrapper, Brazilian binder, Honduran and Nicaraguan fillers. They use up tobacco from like 7 different regions of those two countries. And it is rolled in Honduras. Drew Estate ages them after rolling them for a minimum of 1 year. So once they're rolled, they sit in, humidified rooms.
Yes.
Easy for me to say. For at least 1 year. In the aging room. It's a deep brown wrapper color. It's packed well. It looks great. The pre-light on it was more intense than a lot of pre-lights. A lot of times pre-lights you don't really get all that much on the sniff or on the draw. But this case, it was pretty strong, and it was very barnyard. Now, I didn't remember that from before, because it was like show number 86 is back in 2018 that I talked about this one on the show, and I didn't remember the barnyard being that big of a deal. It actually gave me a little pause. I don't mind that as one of the flavors or aromas of the cigar, But if it's the overwhelming one,
The predominant flavor.
and I've had a few cigars that were like that. They were just like, this is okay, but like I get tired of it real fast. So anyway, I was anticipating it a little bit, but I used a punch. I lit it up easy. The initial blast had just a little bit of that barnyard, but then that dissipated, and I really didn't get it again the whole time that I smoked it. So it was definitely just a before the light sort of aroma. Instead, I got black pepper, earth, anise, which is that licoricey black licorice, yeah, and kind of an aged oak flavor. Sort of like, it made me think of like the oak staves from a barrel that's going to be used to age, some whiskey or rum or tequila. The T52 is definitely full-bodied, but that said, it's not a blunt instrument. It's not like smoking, one of the diesels or maybe the chisel from
Cuba.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Cigar.
full-bodied, but it's got a real. I don't know, it's got a real subtlety to it at the same time. The flavors really stand out. I got black pepper, earth, anise, aged oak initially, and then the subtly nuanced flavors kind of went through. By the second, third, I was picking up leather, dried cherries, and a kind of a pepper vibe that was leaving a little bit of a tang on the tongue, which I really like. Construction and burn were incredible. I did not touch it up one time.
Everything you've just said.
Yeah.
Is the reason Liga Privados are not cheap.
Right. That's absolutely
But it's
right.
also the reason that
that
they
generally
sell.
they're quite good. Well, as I got into the last third and I started to get a little bit of that, you've mentioned this on the show before, but those candies that your grandma would get that were like a really like bitter orange with chocolate on them.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? It had a distinct flavor of that came through in the final third. It was really nice. I mean, a little bit bitter, but in a very pleasant way.
Yeah.
But the chocolate kind of smooths it out, makes it creamy. I managed to start thinking by the last third, I was like, why have I not smoked another one of these since 2018?
Since 2018, yeah.
Because I was really enjoying it. It was a bit different from, kind of my normal vibe of cigar, but really enjoyable, very complex. And as I thought about it, I thought, well, probably the reason that I haven't smoked more of these since 2018 is probably because it's a $15 to $16 cigar. That's just expensive enough. Yeah. That's just expensive enough that it's not something I'm going to buy in quantity. I might buy one to try it, even like I did with this one today. I bought one thing, this looks good. I'll smoke it on the show. We'll see what happens. But it's not one where I'm like, okay, a box of those would be with 300 and how much? That becomes that feels more like an investment.
That gets pretty pricey pretty quick.
So that's probably the reason I haven't smoked more of these. That said, it performed every bit as well as you would want a $15, $16 cigar to smoke. And I enjoyed it so much that on a price to quality, I'm going to give it just slightly above the 5. So I'll give it a 5.5, thinking, you know what? If I'd bought it and it was $17 or $18, I wouldn't have said, yeah, this doesn't live up to it.
Right.
So I'll give it a 5.5, but definitely thumbs up. Definitely recommended. If you want to splurge a little bit, if that's above your normal price range, which it is for me, if you want to splurge a little bit, it's a great one to do it with. Absolutely. I mean, it was a spectacular cigar and a great smoking experience. And it was one of those where I was kind of like, I feel really lucky that I chose this one this week. I'm enjoying the heck out of this.
That sounds awesome. And our price to quality scale, of course, is 1 to 10. 5 being the middle is exactly what you pay for. Anything lower than that, you feel like you should have paid a little less, or the cigar doesn't live up to its price. Anything above that, and the cigar is worth a bit more than its price. But I want to point out, so price-wise with cigars, I start eyeballing them pretty hard and thinking pretty hard about it when they start capping the $10 to $11 range.
See, I'm the same way. If it's under 10...
If it's under 10, I generally don't even think about it.
Right.
I'm like, I'll try this, I'll try
if
this.
If it's 12, I go, well, all right, I'll splurge a little. You feel like you're going a little above your normal. Right, and that was where I was on this one, too. So, anyway, but well worth it. If you're going to spend $15, $16 on a cigar, I can't think of one off the top of my head I would recommend more. So once again, our high-tech sound effects have come through. Ian, that was spectacular. That made me thirsty just hearing it. Yeah.
I will tell you, on cigar prices, too, I will buy on not a regular basis, but I'll buy cigars that are in that range. Mm-hmm. Sometimes on site alone, sometimes on brand alone.
Right. I
just to
understand
try
that.
it, because sometimes you go, I want to step out and see what this is.
Yeah, you go in, you see a Rocky Patel that's $15 that looks really, kind of dazzling and spectacular, and you're like, okay, I'm generally not ever disappointed with Rocky's cigars, so I'll take a shot.
It's a little less explored, you
right,
know?
Exactly. That's exactly right. So, Beverly Pills, ladies and gentlemen. Beverly Pills. I can't even go. I can't go any further than that. My pride won't let me.
Look what I did.
Yeah, I saw that. That was very good. By the way, Robert Brown on the show notes refers to us as the Beverly Pills Billies. So that works for me. Beverly Pills. This is from Indie Brewing. Ian, what can you tell us about that? Is there any information on the can?
Indie Brewing Company from
Los Angeles, California, I believe.
California. Indie Brewing Company, Pilsner, 5% alcohol by volume, 1 pint. There is not. That's it.
Well, I will tell you.
And a government warning.
Well, that's good that that's there. So I'll tell you, we've been kind of batting it out of the park with the Pilsners we've had on the show lately. It kind of started with that Vader Von Pils several shows ago, which was so good. And then we've had some great ones. Even the St. Arnold H-Town Pils we had last week was terrific.
I want to point out the initial nose on this kind of puts me off.
Yeah?
It's a little rank.
Really? Now let me go back and see if I get that. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of that extra ripe banana. Maybe is that what you're referring to?
No, there's a hoppy weirdness to it.
Oh, see, maybe I'm just not describing it properly.
This is okay.
See,
I don't know if
I think it's pretty good. It's got a little Pilsner snap to it.
I like the aftertaste a lot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what
I'm not sure if I like the very beginning of the flavor.
Let me try that again. What are you getting on the front? Yeah, you're right. I'm concentrating mostly on the finish.
The aftertaste is awesome, actually. The more I try that, it's got a real nice sweetness. The front of it has a little bitterness.
Mm-hmm. Little hop bitterness?
Yeah. Maybe it's kind of a dank or resiny hop right up front that I'm not jiving with all that well.
See, I'm kind of liking that because to me it makes the Pilsner more interesting. You don't want a Pilsner to just be kind of a slightly fancier Miller Lite. You know what I mean? And this to me is a lot more interesting than that.
I'll go ahead and put this on interest level.
Yeah.
I think they did a good job. For my palate, I'm not totally into this. That resiny right up front, it's like biting into a lime to me or something. It's like it's just too tart right there in the front. And the sweetness on the tail I like a lot, but it's tempered by that.
See, I like the way it goes from a little tart to a little
kind of
sweet.
Astringent. It kind of leaves my tongue like a little weird.
I don't know. I'm liking this. I think it's pretty refreshing, pretty. But again, I lean towards the hoppier thing, so the hop doesn't really. I'm just laughing at you being the manual Mr. Twirlygig. Is that the direction he spun, or did he spin
I miss you, Twirlygig.
I know Bruce Stark on the show notes said no when we announced the demise of Mr. Twirlygig. I like this. I would drink more of this. I mean, this would be one.
I don't find it undrinkable. This
Yeah.
is not something. If you gave me a glass of it, that I wouldn't sit down and drink. But I wouldn't grab for it again. I don't think.
All right. Well. So we're split. It's a split decision on that one.
I mean, if we're going to be in L.A., give me an 805.
Adam, what's your take on it? Adam's our producer. He got a glass of it as well. So he's in the middle. So he keeps the vote really split. So, all right. Well, fair enough. There you go for the people who say we like everything.
Siskel says 1 thumbs down. Ebert says 1 thumbs
That
up.
happened on the show back when both of them were alive. Are both of them gone now? Siskel and Ebert?
So.
I think so.
I think
Wow.
so.
End of an era. Do you realize there's a whole group of people growing up who will never know
No idea
what Siskel and Ebert, like movie review, even meant?
They were great, though.
Speaking of movies, what have you seen the trailer for this one with it's got Denzel Washington and Jared Leto in it, and Jared Leto plays
the trailer.
Wow, it looks pretty awesome.
A couple friends of mine were telling me, have you seen Fat Man?
No.
A couple of friends of mine were telling me that's really good. I haven't watched it yet, but I saw it on the Amazon the other day.
I did see the Tom Hanks movie, the News of the World, the Western.
Ooh, is that good?
It's actually quite good. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
I enjoyed it. And I'm not a big Western guy in terms of movies, and Westerns not my favorite. But Tom Hanks is great in it, and the little girl was good, and so it was well done.
The other night, I asked my wife to pick out a movie, and she has eclectic taste from time to time.
Yeah.
And she picked out this movie called Iron Mask.
I've heard of that. Is that Leonardo DiCaprio?
No.
Okay.
That's the man in the Iron Mask.
That's the man in the Iron Mask. Okay.
Okay. This is a Chinese movie
Oh.
that has Arnold Schwarzenegger in it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You'd have to even look up the cast for this
Is
because
his-
it's crazy who's in this. And it's a Chinese movie. Like, this is no doubt. This is not like an American production of a Chinese movie. This
Right.
is a Chinese production.
So was it in Chinese and subtitled, or was it in English?
So some of the characters are overdubbed.
Yeah.
You can see. They just
Yeah.
don't match. Some of the characters are simply overdubbed, and some of them are actually just speaking English.
Hey, Mark Hamill didn't match in The Mandalorian, and he was right there. So, what are you going to do?
But it's kind of funny because it's a totally different kind of movie. It's totally bizarre. Like, it's
kinda
not
like
what
this
I was
idea.
but totally watch it.
I
It's
totally
fun.
wanna see it,
It's
yeah.
ridiculous, and it's Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, you got to love that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people in it. I can't remember the whole list of actors, but you'll sit there and go, "Oh my gosh, really?"
I had a chance to interview Jackie Chan once. A delightful dude. I mean, he was just like
I've heard he's pretty awesome.
as fun and awesome as could be, and it was interesting because I interviewed him in 2012. He told me a very interesting story that there's a movie that he was filming in New York that involved his character on the outside of the World Trade Center towers. And they had some kind of a bug or delay in production that kept them in Toronto an extra day or two. But he was supposed to have been filming on the outside of the World Trade Center towers on September 11th.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like this bombshell story. It was like I couldn't believe that, and he was just he's a great guy anyway, but he was just you could tell he was just so humbled and amazed that he had not been on the side of that building when it went down.
That's crazy.
So anyway, okay. Tell you what, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to taste this. I'm so excited about this IPA. It's a Gulf Coast IPA, and it is a collaboration between Untitled Art and Parish Brewing Company. Then, in the following segment, we'll get to how to make a perfect black and tan. Also coming up in the next segment, I want to tell you about our next couple of guests, because we've got two of the greatest guests on Smoking and Toasting ever that will be coming back in the next two episodes. So, yeah, it's going to be the bomb. We'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for joining us for show number 219. Yeah. The screen just keeps going. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 219 on the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Great shirts for cigar lovers on the web, MyCigarShirts.com, because... Cigars, yes. A couple of great bits of input from the show notes, from the chatter on the web. Nick Cook wants to know, are we ordering another Twirly gig? And yes, we are. Well, I think the way you put it was we've reached out to Twirly Gig family members to see if anyone wants to step in.
We're accepting applications.
We're accepting Twirly Gig applications.
We'll see what happens by next week.
If this were 20 years ago, in less, acceptable times, we could just hire a bikini girl to stand there and hold that. But today, that probably wouldn't be so cool.
Not so much.
Yeah, not so much. But
I think it'd be kind of cool.
well, there would be things about it that would be cool, but. Yeah, somebody would have an issue with it, is all I'm saying.
It loses a little translation, though, considering a lot of people just listen to the show.
That's true. And also, in fairness, it does remind you of, what all the Budweiser and Bud Light ads were like back in the 80s. You know, it was always bikini
We're not
girls
hiring a dog.
holding Budweiser. Well, there was that too. But the dog was always surrounded by bikini girls, remember?
Dude, that's not the dog's fault.
Well, no. Okay, I get it. I see where you're going with this. He also says, by the way, that fancy lawnmower is even better, and Nick Cook says, so in response to our talking about lawnmower coming into the break. And Bruce Stark tells us Siskel died in February 20th of 99, and Roger Ebert died in 13th, that'd be 2013.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. I didn't stay.
Yeah, so anyway, very interesting. And oh, by the way, hi to Jessica from Barrel Bourbon. Who
She's
checks
so
in.
awesome.
She's awesome. So we got to have Jessica. She's probably out there thinking, oh, they're inviting me back on the show because I said we're two of the best guests ever. And she certainly has been one of the best guests ever, but she wasn't who I was talking about.
We have to invite her back. My
okay, Jessica, you're officially invited.
My bottle of number 20 is, I drink just a little bit here and there and parse it out because it's so delicious.
You know what I've been like drinking just tiny, tiny qualities of? The bottle of rye you gave me for Christmas.
That's a good rye,
dude. That is so delicious. You drink it and you go, oh, just a little. I want it to last.
Yes.
Yeah. It's got to be really something for me to go, oh, not too much, just a little.
I'm going to point out, I don't think we've had that rye on the show.
That's a good point. We haven't. Okay, so we'll do that coming up as well. We won't do it in the next couple of weeks, though, because let me tell you what we got coming up on Smoking and Toasting.
What do we got coming up?
Next week is the show before Super Bowl. And I'm thinking, with the pandemic, a lot of people won't be hosting or going to the big, lavish Super Bowl parties.
Yeah.
Probably doing something smaller, maybe just family, maybe even just home alone for Super Bowl. So I thought the cocktails are going to be even more important. Because you need to throw yourself a Super Bowl party if you're not going to have a bunch of people around to sit and laugh at the commercials and watch the game, right? So we've invited our cocktail expert back on the show next week. Yes, that's right. Chris Morris will be here to make super cocktails for the Super Bowl.
We're going to have to get him to bring his guitar and sing his song.
Oh, we totally should do that. Okay,
we'll ask him.
We'll ask him to do that. So excited about that. And then the following week is the show before Valentine's Day. And our good friend and Smoking Toast and wine expert Mark Burrell will be here to talk about perfect wines for Valentine's Day.
Both of those guys are so awesome. Mark Burrell, he's such a fantastic guest when he's on here.
He is.
I always harken back to the time where we did the show at Rainbow Lodge.
Yes.
And we were supposed to do mixed drinks for that show, and we ended up just basically talking to the Treaty Oak.
Yeah, the Treaty Oak guy was there with Treaty Oak bourbon, and it was great.
And Mark was just, you know what? This is how it's going. He wasn't even worried about it. He's like, just whatever. And then we just had to have him on again to talk about the mixed drinks.
Well, he's awesome. So he'll be in studio with us, and we'll be talking about different wines for Valentine's Day, which is good, which is awesome. So, all right, our next, I'm as excited about our next beer as I've been about anything we've had for a while, because Untitled Art, I think, has been one of the. I think of it as a new brewery. I'm not sure when they were founded. They're from Waunaukee, Wisconsin. But we discovered them just in the last year, and everything we've had from them has been just outstanding. When I saw that they had teamed up with perhaps my favorite brewery, Parish Brewing, I was so excited. And then when I saw it was an Imperial IPA, I was even more excited. So let's get right to it. This is their Gulf Coast IPA. It says IIPA on the can, which I think means what they're saying is Imperial IPA, right? Is that what IIPA? Did you get your ukulele a little extra foam there? Yeah, that's all right.
He's getting the bar treatment. All my other guitars have had beer
right,
on
because
them.
you played in bars. That does make some sense. Well, I'm telling you, I can see you pouring that, and that is a nice, rich looking, very almost coppery. It's so golden and hazy. That looks quite interesting. Well, I love Parish makes Ghost in the Machine, which I think may be my favorite IPA.
It's one of the best
at the
IPAs
moment. It's
there
just
is.
Absolutely terrific. And
so this is Untitled Art, Gulf Coast IPA, Double India Pale Ale with Citra, Waiiti Hort, 4337 hops. I may have said all that wrong. Brewed and canned by Untitled Art and Parish Brewing Company. Waunaukee,
Wisconsin. That's where Untitled Art is, and Parish, of course, is in Broussard, Louisiana.
Artwork by Ray and Smith. Look at this artwork. This is just absolutely
it's really stunning.
beautiful.
It's really stunning, and I can't wait for you to taste this beer because I've already.
I would explain this artwork to Josh, who's listening in his truck, but
except you have no idea what it really represents.
I can't explain this.
Well, Untitled Art, they're well known for putting beautiful artwork like that that's very abstract and difficult to explain, as well as Untitled, onto their cans. So.
It is absolutely fantastic. Though.
Absolutely stunning.
Have you tried the beer yet?
I have.
What are you thinking?
I think it's spectacular, but I'm interested to see what you think. It's an Imperial IPA. It's a double, so it's nice and big.
It smells.
It's got plenty of
like
citrus,
lemon and orange peel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
on the finish, you get just a lot of citrusy. I'm trying to pick through the flavors here. A little grapefruit, a little lemon.
The grapefruit snap on the end of this is delightful. And then it ends with a sweet malty thing that's just, wow. It leaves my mouth like super watering.
I would be really interested to know when two breweries collaborate on a beer like this.
It's also overall so bitter, but so delicious.
Yeah, it definitely has the hop bitter that you would expect from an Imperial IPA, but it's also, I don't know, you're right, it's delicious and kind of begs you to take another drink, which is interesting.
That's why I've just about finished mine just tasting it.
Excuse me.
No COVID.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd be interested to see, Ian, when you got a brewery that's in Waunaukee, Wisconsin, and a brewery that's in Broussard, Louisiana, they almost couldn't be further apart geographically, right? So when they collaborate on a beer, how do they do that? Do they exchange recipes? Like what's the process? I'd be real interested to know.
I don't know.
Yeah, because
that's a good question.
Because it's such a cool thing. Now I know
it might also be a great excuse to go visit somebody.
Right. I know in the case of like the Black is Beautiful Stout, for example, that one brewery kind of comes
Everyone's
up with,
given the same
with
mash
the
bill,
recipe and mash bill, and then they communicate that with the other breweries, and they kind of put their own twist on it. Mm-hmm. But in this case, you've got two breweries. I'm going to assume this was actually brewed in Waunaukee, but I don't know.
I think so.
They could be brewing in both places.
It says brewed and canned by Untitled Art and Parish Brewing, and then it says Waunaukee, Wisconsin, and we know Parish is in Louisiana. So maybe what happens is okay. I'm going to invent a story here. So maybe what happens is the guys from Parish go, "Hey man, we have this great Imperial IPA recipe. Do you guys want to put your spin on it?" And maybe they take their recipe and they send it to these guys, and these guys
take it another.
And of course, in my mind, being romantic like this, in my mind, they make a batch of it, just like pure to the recipe, so that they can taste it and then decide how they want to change
Why don't we
this.
add this or take out this
and
or
then
whatever?
they do their own strange brew science.
You're
to
right.
it.
That'd be something where you just love to be a fly on the wall, as long as that fly got to have a little of the beer. You know, that's what I'm saying. Well, I'm going to tell you, I think this is good, and in continuing to drink it, now on the finish, I'm getting almost like this mango milkshake
Mandarin.
vibe. Yeah, just almost like a creamy milkshakey vibe on the end.
Mandarin on the very end of this. This makes me happy. I like this IPA a lot.
Yes, I do too. And it is, at least here in Texas, available. I'm sure it's available in Louisiana and in Wisconsin as well. And any place else where I'm guessing that you can get either Untitled Art beers or Parish Brewing beers.
I'm so happy that Parish is
to go.
available here now.
Me too.
I remember when Chris Hart came on the show, and he was so excited because he had the Ghost in the Machine, which you couldn't get here.
Right. At that time, and now you can.
And you guys had a slushie.
Yes, I remember because he put it in the freezer and didn't take it out in time. And it was still so good that I was like, oh, my God, this is one of the best I've ever had.
Still one of the best. Yeah, still one of the absolute best IPAs out there.
We'll have to have Chris back on the show again. Chris Hart, if you're out there.
We haven't seen him in a while.
We miss you, buddy. Where you at? He's off being an expert and because that's what he does.
I need to just randomly call him
And
be like,
talks
what's
to,
up?
well, there is that telephone thing we have in our pockets all the time now.
We come to find
could just
out it
do that.
works in two directions.
Yeah, apparently so. All right, let's take a break. We're going to be back. When we return, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to taste a really interesting wild turkey called Long Branch. It's a Kentucky straight bourbon. We'll be getting into that in the next segment. And then Ian and I are also going to take our shot at making the perfect black and tan. Should be good. So we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we are so glad to have you. Also, don't forget, Cigar Snob Magazine's Top 25 Cigars of 2020 coming up. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 219. We are talking today about how to make a perfect black and tan. And actually, we're going to do that in the next segment because we got a list we got to get to, and we got some whiskey to taste. And I'm afraid we've got to leave ourselves enough time in a segment to do this black and tan thing because I have a feeling I may make a mess. It may be just like, I don't know. I don't know how good I'm going to be at this.
We haven't even decided how we're going to do it. Do we have enough stuff to do it simultaneously?
Yes.
Okay.
So we've got a couple of pint glasses. We've got a couple of cans of Guinness with the little accelerator thing in that.
You would think that knowing that we were going to do black and tans today, I might have actually looked up online how to make one.
Oh, I got the recipe.
I haven't, so I'm literally following your directions.
You'll be following the direction, and I'll be following the directions from liquor.com. So we'll see. We should have called this Two Bumbling Idiots Make Black and Tans as opposed to How to Make the Perfect Black and Tan. But we'll see how it goes. You'll be here with us. It'll be fun.
We just if it's called How to Make the Perfect Black and Tan, we just need to put a question mark after How to Make the Perfect Black and Tan?
Question mark, yes. I wanted to just mention before we go any further that this IPA with Parish from Parish and Untitled Art.
It's real good.
It's really, really good.
Yeah, it's real good.
Go buy some.
See, it has the dank and it has all those other things, but it doesn't leave my mouth like with that weird astringency like that.
They got it down.
Like that first beer did.
Both of these breweries are so good, which is why I was so excited to see what it'd be like, when they teamed up. So yeah, very, very, very good. All right. I am going to confess to you that while Cigar Aficionado is kind of considered the standard, I guess, for cigar magazines, my personal favorite is actually Cigar Snob. I just like them. I like it. They're a little more irreverent, a little less official, but they still have great cigar reviews, and they come up with their own list every year of their best cigars of the year, and they've now been released for 2020. So I thought we'd go over some of this list, and then we'd try some Long Branch from Wild Turkey. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's do it. Starting at number 25. This is from Cigar Snob Magazine. Their number 25 cigar of the year for 2020 is the Diamond Crown Black Diamond. Now, this is a $19 Robusto. So, right away, my price to quality goes, Can it stand up?
Yeah.
Exactly. But the original Diamond Crown was launched by J.C. Newman in 1996 to commemorate their 100th anniversary, and 20 years later, the Diamond Crown Black Diamond made its debut. Their panel has been loving the dark, oily wrapper and flavorful profile ever since. It received a 92 when they rated it, and it's number 25 on their list. At number 24, the Perdomo 20th anniversary Maduro.
Good cigar.
Yeah, that is a good cigar. And, Perdomo's one of those cigars that I used to smoke a lot of their cigars a few years back. Haven't smoked as many lately. And they've made some major changes to their line. They've really introduced some interesting new things.
So I want to point out Perdomo, their 10th anniversary cigar is one they still make and is amazing.
And now they're at the 20th. It's a $9.50 cigar, and it's also quite good. Now, this is interesting. I feel, and we've talked about this on the show before, I feel like I've been snake bit by Gurkha. I just, anytime I'm in the store I see Gurkha, I go, I don't know.
But they're making lists.
Yes, they are. And this one is on the list at 23, and it sounds like one that I might really like. It's the Gurkha Nicaragua series. It's a $9.95 cigar. It scored a 92 in their ratings, making it the highest rated Gurkha in Cigar Snob ratings ever.
I just want to point out, I've never had a problem with Gurkha flavor. They're almost always on the lighter side in general. Even back in the day, they had the Beast, which was supposed to be their bigger, fuller flavored.
Right.
It was a medium to medium plus at the best, but it was a good cigar.
It was a good cigar. It just fell apart on you.
Flavor-wise, their cigars have never had an issue, but that snake bit thing you talk about, when they start falling apart when you're smoking them, I haven't gotten over it yet.
I had one Gurkha cigar that, I'm not kidding, it looked like in the cartoons when they give a guy the exploding cigar and it blows up and then he's still got it in his mouth.
I remember that. You had a picture of that, didn't you?
It was terrible. It was terrible. And you can't enjoy a cigar at all, no matter how good the flavor is, if it's, if you look like you're Pepe Le Pew or whoever got
you should have taken a selfie of that with that cigar in your mouth and just a WTF above
it. Maybe we could put one of those in Bernie's mouth in the meme and make it maybe good. This next one,
Bernie again is much like the honey badger. He doesn't give a.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. So he'd probably just keep smoking it. At number 22 is a cigar that I believe may have been on the Cigar Aficionado list. I know it's on one of the other lists we've looked at recently. It's the La Aurora 107 Nicaragua. And so I remember seeing it on one of the lists and thinking, that's really interesting because La Aurora, a great cigar line from the past, but you think of them now as Dominican, milder. You don't think of them necessarily as winding up on lists like this. But again, this is Nicaraguan tobacco, so this is something they're doing that's newer, that is perhaps more interesting. At 21, the San Cristobal Revelation. This is the $8.50 San Cristobal. Now, you can spend like $15, $17, $18
Easily.
for a San Cristobal, but this one is the one that comes in at $8.50. It's the original, and it was launched in 2007, or the original, was launched in 2007. The Revelation came in 2013, and it's all made at Don Pepin Garcia's My Father factory in Esteli. So, there's a lot of good stuff coming out of there.
Yeah.
You got to figure. At number 20, the Viva La Vida. I know this was on the list for Cigar Aficionado, and this is one of AJ's cigars coming out of Tabacalera AJ Fernandez in Nicaragua, and it's a really good-looking cigar. I got to go smoke one of those. I'm an AJ fan, and I haven't had one. And I'm so thrilled that this cigar made the list at number 19.
What do we got?
So happy. The Aladino Maduro Box Pressed.
Man, those are good.
They're fantastic, and I love seeing Honduran cigars, doing really well. Obviously, Nicaragua is having a time, but
that box press is so good. That and their Lancero in the Maduro are so amazing.
Just really good stuff. Good. Yeah, that Lancero is one of the best Lanceros I've ever had. It's just fantastic.
When we were there, the Lancero, every time we were sitting stable in a place, I would smoke in the Lancero. But every time we had to grab cigars and go somewhere, it was the box press Maduro because easier to pocket.
That was probably my favorite one of the bunch, though. I just love that box press Maduro. So good. So good. At 18, the Davidoff Nicaragua. Now, this is a $20 cigar.
Ooh, yeah.
But I guess what they're saying is it delivers. It's interesting because, again, this this is another cigar.
You realize you owe them 50 cents every time you say Davidoff, right?
I know. That's right. Oh, so that's $1 so far. When you think of this brand, you think of much more mellow, Connecticut, easygoing. But
complex,
they do have a really great standard quality, and they do also put out a few in their line that are much more, full-bodied, and this is one of those, the Davidoff Nicaragua.
I'm going to give a tasting tip. If you're smoking anything made by Davidoff, think Highland for your Scotch.
Okay, there you go. Even for something heavier like the Nicaragua.
I haven't had the Nicaragua.
Okay.
Wait. Did I do the Nicaragua? I feel like I may have. I'll have to go back and look at my notes.
This next one I know you've had. We both had. In fact, you gave me one of these, and I just enjoyed every freaking minute of it.
Was it a Philly blunt?
No, it was the Plasencia Almafuerte.
Oh, those are so good.
Such a great cigar, right?
Those are so good.
And it's number 17 on the list. Now, that's a $22 cigar.
And it's worth every
I'm going to tell
penny.
you, if you're going to spend $22 on a cigar, I'd go with that over the Davidoff. I really would. The Tatuaje Reserva Miami coming in at $12 and number 16 out of My Father Cigars in Miami. And that'll take us to a good pausing point, I think. 15 cigars to go on the list, and maybe it's time for a little Long Branch. Now, Ian, read me that from the label because it talks about why the name is Long Branch for the Wild Turkey Long Branch bourbon. Well, I think it's on the front. It talks about the wood, right?
It says small batch aged in American oak, expertly crafted. Oak and Texas mesquite charcoal refined.
Okay, so it's Texas mesquite charcoal. That's what I was thinking, that they use to refine this. So, Texas mesquite's a very aromatic wood. I mean, I love
big time.
using mesquite on the grill because a lot of people use hickory, which is great. I love using mesquite on the grill because I love the flavor that it infuses in like barbecue chicken and some of the other kind of meats that you would grill it with. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see how. Ooh, that was nice, subtle but nice.
Oh,
I think it's going to be interesting to see how this stands up. And we were talking about this during the break, but Wild Turkey kind of has had the image in the past of this is kind of like your grandfather's bourbon,
So I'll tell you, I have a history with some Wild Turkey. On Christmas Eve in my household, we all used to go out to what we called Manland, which was the garage.
Manland, I like that.
And we would smoke and drink whiskey. And it was always Wild Turkey. Now, here's a funny thing about that.
Always Wild Turkey, though, not something else.
It was always Wild Turkey. And the funny thing about that is my dad never drank Wild Turkey. I never saw him drink it other than Christmas Eve. We polished off many bottles. I never remember him ever going and buying bottles, but there was always a bottle for Christmas Eve.
Interesting.
So, sneaky dad thing about that, right, that I put together in later years. And we always used to shoot it. And God, that stuff will tear you up when you shoot it like that. It's 101 proof, and it's just. And I always thought, man, Wild Turkey, and I have great memories attached to it. We used to just have a great time. But man, I never thought, wow, what a great whiskey until I stopped one time and sipped it.
And you're talking just regular Wild Turkey, right?
Yes, and just stopped and tasted it and went, you know what? This is good.
Some good stuff going on here.
This is good whiskey. Your basic Wild Turkey 101, everyone calls it, is great. And then I've branched out and I've tried a few of these, but the Long Branch I have not tried. I've tried the Forgiven. I think I brought it on the show. So good.
I believe you did, yes.
So good. We've had a couple of other of their expressions as well.
Well, this is a new one for you then. This is Long Branch. And, I can kind of smell that wood. A little
oakiness,
bit. The
right
oakiness to it. Yes, absolutely. I don't know if I smell mesquite, but I definitely get the oakiness on the nose.
So, it keeps developing.
It sure does.
Oh, wow, it keeps going. Okay, this is all off the first sip. Okay, wow, this does a lot.
It's
so the initial
really complex
flavor punch on this is caramel.
Yes.
And cinnamon. Caramel and cinnamon. If you like caramel and cinnamon, you're going to like this one.
Yeah, and it's really...
followed by a real...
mapley, oaky
sweetness,
vibe to it.
Maple and oak, maple syrup and oak, and then that lingering sweetness is so good. And then there's the mesquite right there at the very end.
Yes.
It's this little astringency that you get, and if you haven't had mesquite smoked food...
You might not recognize
You might not recognize what that is, but it's a little bit of a bitter astringency to it. And also, there's a little tiny heart of smokiness in the retrohale that's really precious.
It does become more smoky on the retrohale. You don't get a lot of smoke, and it's not a peated kind of smoke at all. It's a much more mesquite kind of smoke.
This is a I'm going to use the word barbecue, but it's the wrong word, okay? Because, and especially if you're in southern states where you smoke a lot of meats, okay? I don't think they do that as much up north, but in the southern states where you smoke a lot of meats, what that means is you put it on a smoker, the firebox is off to the side. There's no direct heat whatsoever. You let the fire burn, and you're just putting the heat and the smoke from the fire travels through the chamber where the meat is. And that is the smell. Like when you walk by after they have one of those smokers up hot and running ready to go, that's a little bit of what you get on this retrohale on this.
This is a delicious whiskey. It really is. I'm loving the complexity that happens well after you've swallowed your sip.
There's a big oak dryness that happens in the end of the palate, too, that is absolutely... You know what? The cinnamon... I can't stop talking about all these things. The cinnamon and the and the maple syrup in there, like those two things together. I mean, it's that this is like having like almost like, you know, when you pour on a French toast, you pour the maple syrup and that powdered sugar.
Yes, absolutely. I think what I find interesting about this is that most whiskeys, most bourbons, the complexity and the combining and blending of the flavors happens most when it's on the palate, and then when you swallow, there'll be a thing on the finish. With this, the complexity is actually in the finish. It's after you've swallowed that you're getting all of these different flavors, and they're bringing the complexity into your brain along with a very tender whiskey hug.
Yes.
It's not very intense.
No,
it's just
beautiful.
very...
And this
very
is at 43%, so slightly overpriced. It also has Matthew McConaughey's signature on it.
Yeah, I do think this is one of the ones
Eddie
that he
Russell
was in,
and Matthew McConaughey.
I do think this is one of the ones he was involved in. I saw him on a talk show or something at some point, and he said that he got involved in Wild Turkey. I think he became an investor, and they used his name. And anyway, he was telling me how, or not telling me personally, but he was telling the interviewer how they were sending all these samples to his house for him to taste.
Nice.
He was just surrounded by all these, white label Wild Turkey samples as they were trying different things and different aging combinations and
Worst
stuff.
problem
Yeah,
ever.
I was going to say, we don't have much to complain about here on Smoking and Toasting, but where do I apply for that job? So anyway, I think this is really good. I would...
what is the price on this?
it's around, I was just double checking it to make sure I'm right. It's around a $35 bottle. So you
100% badass.
You could go. You could find it for closer to 40. You might even find it for a little under. But I would say about $35 is what you should expect to pay.
$40. If we rounded it to 40 and said this is a $40 bottle, this is an outstanding $40 bottle.
It's even better at 35 if you think about it, because that puts it almost in that lower price bourbon category.
I love their Wild Turkey Forgiven, and I think that's the $50 bottle. And this is that kind of good, easily. So,
well, Matthew McConaughey scores again.
All right.
He was kind of like thought of as a weird dude for the first chunk of his career, and there were stories about him, sitting outside naked playing the bongos outside of his house, and that he didn't bathe and things like that. And somehow he's transformed that image. He's now like the coolest
Lincolns.
guy ever. And he
sells Lincolns.
Have you ever seen his commencement speech? If you look for it on YouTube, he gives a commencement speech to some graduating class a year or two ago. It's outstanding. Like
I bet.
you'll watch it, you'll get all like energized and fired up and go, bring me some of that whiskey. But
I want to drive a Lincoln and drink
great.
Wild Turkey.
And there's something about him. And my wife and I have actually been going back and watching a number of his movies. Like, are there any Matthew McConaughey movies we haven't seen? And he's got a few duds, but I'll tell you what, most of them are pretty good. He's done well for himself. So anyway, here's to you, Matthew, and here's to the Long Branch. It's Long Branch, right?
Yes.
I'm looking at the back of the bottle. The Long Branch, Wild Turkey Long Branch. This goes on the recommended list for sure. All right, let's do a few more of these cigars from this list, Ian, as we round out this segment. We're into the 15s now. We're into the mid-teens. At number 15, it's a cigar that I think you've talked about this cigar as much as any other cigar you've ever smoked on the and done on the show.
What do we got?
The Superfly Maduro by Oscar Valadares.
I love that cigar.
Yeah, I know it's a favorite of yours.
All right, Oscar Valadares, man, the Superfly and the Leaf Maduro and the 2012 and
Superfly may have the coolest band on any cigar.
Superfly, but not only is it a cool band, what a great cigar!
It really
I
is.
always keep some in my humidor. I have two in my humidor right now.
It's a Mexican San Andres wrapper, a Honduran binder, and filler from Nicaragua, Honduras, and the Dominican Republic. It's a $9 cigar, and they rated it 92 in Cigar Snob. So glad to see it come in at number 15 on the list.
Superfly is great.
At number 14, the Aging Room Pura Cepa. This I don't think I've had a number of Aging Room cigars. I don't know if I've had the Pura Cepa. It's manufactured by Plasencia. It's all Nicaragua. It's a Nicaraguan Puro, and it's about $12.70 in the price for the cigar. The aging room brand, they say, initially launched with the M356 line at the end of 2011. They were known from day one for their very Dominican-dominant brands, but today the majority of their releases come from Nicaragua, including this one. The Pura Cepa is manufactured by Plasencia, and they say it delivers a beautifully balanced profile loaded with flavor and aroma. So I got to try the Pura Cepa. I've had almost every cigar in their line, I think, but I don't think I've had that one.
I don't think I have either.
The Joya de Nicaragua Numero Uno comes in at number 13. It is a Lancero, and it is 1660. So that's a little. It may not actually be a Lancero, but it's a very thin cigar. That may be a little pricey for one of those, but they basically this is one of the ones that has come out since Drew Estate took over Joya de Nicaragua.
Okay.
And it was rated in 92, and it's a 6 7/8 by 48. So it's not that thin. It just looks that way in the picture because it's fairly long.
Yeah.
So, but it's a 48 ring gauge. So that's not as thin as I was thinking. Now the next one is a little bit thin, depending on which one you get. But I'm so excited it's on this list. The A.J. Fernandez Bella Artes Maduro.
Yeah.
Gotta be my favorite cigar of the last year. I
That's
just
a great cigar.
absolutely love this. My favorite size is the short Churchill, which it's only like a 44 ring gauge. But it's just spectacular. In fact, it's funny, I haven't bought any of them in a while. And this last week, I was digging around in the humidor, and I moved aside a couple of other cigars and found one of those still left in the bottom. And I was like, oh, I'm having this.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me again of why I had gone on such a kick for those for a while, because it's just absolutely fantastic. So that's number 12. Number 11 on the list, the HVC Edition Especial 2015. I have not had this cigar. In fact, I don't know if I've ever even seen this cigar. But it's established by Rainier Lorenzo. HVC Cigars is one of the more exciting young cigar companies of the last 10 years, they say. It got a 93, and they say the HVC Cigars have gotten consistently high marks in their ratings at Cigar Snob. At number 10 is the Warped La Colmena, another one that I have not had. It is an Ecuadorian cigar, and it retails for $15.95.
I was going to say $5.
I was going to say $5.95. It's like, woo! I'm going to get some.
I'm buying boxes.
So guess what's at number 9? The Liga Privada T52 that I just talked about today. I did not know this was on the list, but they show it as a $15 cigar. They rated it a 93. They say it's been a favorite there since it was released. At number 8, the Rocky Patel Quarter Century. Rocky's got so many cigars now. I'm starting to have trouble keeping them apart.
Right.
But I don't think I've had the Quarter Century, so I'm going to have to check that one out. Casa Cuba Divine Inspiration. It's from Tabacalero Arturo Fuente in the Dominican, but the wrapper's Ecuadorian, and it's Dominican binder and
I've never
filler.
seen that one.
It's $8.99. They rated it a 93. Casa Cuba
Nice.
Divine Inspiration. At number 6, the Padron 1964 Anniversary Maduro. What's interesting?
A great
Yes,
cigar.
and what's interesting to me about this one is that this is only number 6.
Yeah.
So there's 5 cigars to come.
If that's number 6, what the heck is coming
Which we're going to
later?
get to in the next segment. There's 5 cigars to come, which will be cigars that outranked those in the rankings. So anxious to get to that, and we will do so. You're listening to and watching Smoking and Toasting, and coming up next, drinking news plus Ian and Cruze try to make the perfect black and tan.
The perfect.
Let's see how that goes.
Awesome.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 219. And we are so thrilled to be here. Craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars is what we're all about. We are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. They are big supporters of the show, so please be big supporters of them. And if you do, you'll get some really cool T-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff, because they got them. They're online with great stuff for cigar lovers at MyCigarShirts.com. Want to say hola to our tequila expert, Liliana, who is watching the show today.
She's super awesome.
She's awesome. I want to have her back on just because I thought she was awesome. Like we'll have to make up a reason to talk tequila again with her because she was just so incredible. I'm looking forward to it. So on this segment, we're going to drink news here in just a moment, but after that, we don't really make a lot of drinks on the show.
No, not usually.
We sip a lot of things. We taste a lot of things. Usually, if a drink is going to be made on the show, we get somebody like Chris Morris to come in and make it, our resident cocktail expert and bartender here on the show.
I mean, why make your own drinks if you can get somebody else
Right.
to?
But today we're going to do something that's pretty unique, is that Ian and I are going to be attempting to actually make something. And thankfully, it's something that looks like it's pretty easy. It's the perfect black and tan. Of course, it includes the word perfect, so I don't know how easy it's going to be. So we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, it's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. So grab a cup while we gather round, saddle up while we drink 'em down. Got a story and I swear it's true. So now it's time for drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. And I asked about his one arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
And just a reminder for the uninitiated.
y'all.
Cheers, y'all. Just a reminder for the uninitiated, the drinking news is not always, although very often, a story about drinking, but it is always a story that you probably will enjoy the most if you have been drinking. So today's drinking news for show number 219, a Florida man. We always get a little extra excited when it's a Florida man, and it so often is. A Florida man called 911 to alert police to a possible kidnapping when he heard cries from his neighbor's house. According to Palm Beach County deputies, and by the way, we do swear this is true, just like the song says. I got a story and I swear it's true. This appeared in the newspaper, which doesn't necessarily make it true, but helps. According to Palm Beach County deputies, the man heard cries of, "Let me out! Let me out! Oh! Oh! Oh!" So he did what any responsible neighbor would do. He figured something's up, and he immediately called the police. When deputies arrived to investigate, they discovered that the cries were not from a woman in danger, but from the neighbor's pet parrot, Rambo. I think we have a photo of Rambo that we can put up here. If you want to take a look at Rambo, there he is. And here's, I think, Rambo with his owner. Also, we can put that one up as well. So, yeah.
Reason why he's holding a chicken wing?
I have no idea. Maybe that's what Rambo likes to eat. I have no idea. He's holding a chicken wing, Adam says, in the photo. I don't know. This is the photo I got from the story.
So where did he learn these words?
The man, the cops, and the neighbor all had a good laugh, but as I was about to say, of course you have to wonder, since parrots repeat things they've heard humans say, it's like, what is it Arsenio Hall used to say? Things that make you go, And that's today's Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
And it may be time to do some serious drinking here.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all. Thanks for indulging us for drinking news. I'm going to open up the Bass because
Bass.
And I'll tell you a quick story about Bass. Bass was like my best friend Dave's favorite beer forever and ever. I think he may have some new favorites that he's gotten into, but he's always been a Bass guy, and he was the guy that kind of I'd had it before, but he was the guy that kind of got me on a Bass kick for a while because he always had them at his house, and it was either that or the Golden Monkey. When I've told you that story, right? When we used to live near Philadelphia, and he lived there as well, we would go to Victory and we would get those
The Golden Monkey.
we would get the multi-packs that had an assortment of beers. Only the thing is, neither Dave or I really cared for the Golden Monkey. I know you like it, but Dave and I were just like, yeah, not really our thing. So over time, his refrigerator became filled with Golden Monkey because neither one of us would drink it. We'd open up the refrigerator, we get a beer. Oh, it's all Golden Monkey. So, but anyway, these days, as you were talking about earlier in the show, though, the way my palate has probably changed, I might like a Golden Monkey.
You might, yeah.
I wound up liking Lawnmower, which wasn't my favorite early on, but now I absolutely dig it. Okay, now it is time for Ian and I to do our best to make the perfect black and tan.
I've actually never done this, so I am taking your orders here.
Yeah, all right. So let me read you what it says. This is from an article from liquor.com. It says, this layered beer drink made of half stout, generally Guinness, and half pale ale, often Bass, works because the stout is less dense than the ale, so it floats atop the lighter colored beer, creating a two-tone pint that's the obvious source of the drink's name. The slow pour over the back of a spoon is essential for getting this pint to look just right. So that's why I brought from my wife's silverware drawer 2 plain, normal, everyday spoons. And I brought a couple of pint glasses. Ian's going to be pouring his beer into a pint glass. What is that, from Firestone Walker? Is that your pint glass?
Yes, I got the Firestone Walker one.
And mine is a pint glass of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who coincidentally have a quarterback named Tom Brady who's going to his 10th Super Bowl next week.
Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Never heard of him.
Exactly. So, okay, so here's what it's important to note. They say that the name also had political overtones in Ireland, and not good ones. The Black and Tans were English parliamentary soldiers who were accused of some of the worst atrocities against the Irish during the Irish War of Independence during the early 1920s.
Good to know. So we're drinking like our modern-day equivalent of let's have a Nazi.
Yeah. Their nickname came from their uniforms, which were a combination of black and khaki. If you absolutely must satisfy a craving for this drink while in Ireland, don't ask for a black and tan, ask for a half and half.
I actually knew it as a half and half until someone called it a black and tan years ago.
Then they say at the pub you should get the same drink or possibly a Harp Lager and Guinness similarly layered without offending your bartender or fellow patrons. Ian, there are 2 steps to this drink recipe. Only 2. I'll tell you what they both are, and then we'll try doing them, okay?
All right.
Number 1, add the pale ale into a pint glass, filling it halfway. So that's the Bass. Number 2, you very slowly pour the stout over the back of a spoon to fill the glass, floating it on top of the ale for a layered effect. So we start with the Bass. That's good. I'll pour mine. I figured if you and I were going to actually attempt to make something on the show, it needed to be something that looked this easy.
Can we do something fun, though?
Sure.
As this is a pint, and we have pint glasses, can we use just one of the stouts for this?
Sure.
Because I want to show people how to actually pour this beer properly.
Oh, well, that's fine. There should be plenty in there. So I'll let you go first. Go ahead and open the Guinness. I noticed you took mine to open.
I did.
You heard the little noise there.
So this has the little nitrous ball in the middle of it. So then I pour it gently over the spoon.
Yeah,
correct?
Gently, it says, over the back of the spoon. So upside down, just like that. The idea being that I guess the spoon helps it not plunge too deeply into the pale ale. Now I'm seeing the Guinness, but it looks like all foam to me. Maybe it's not.
Pretty gentle.
Yeah, and that's I guess another of the reasons for doing it that way. So
I'm gonna tailor the angle of the spoon, see if I get a little less foam. Although I don't think foam is going to be totally bad on this.
Now, I don't know if we're doing this right, Ian, because I'm not seeing much difference. I'm seeing the 2 beers kind of melding together.
I see a big difference there.
Do you? Maybe I'm just not looking at it right. Okay, yeah, I can see it a little bit. All right.
All right, now come on. That's a pretty damn good black and tan. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me hold this up to the camera. Can we tilt that camera down a little bit so we can see? Look at that. Hold on. There we go. Black on top, tan, and the line is right about there.
You can see that there. Now I'm going to try this on my end.
That's pretty
with
good.
The spoon. I don't know if I got enough pale ale. Let me pour just a little bit more. There we go. All right. So, yeah, the secret apparently is the slow pour across the back of the spoon. I'm kind of impressed with myself here.
Look at you, Mr. Fancy Black and Tan man. It takes a little concentration to keep the pour steady.
Doesn't it? Okay. All right. Now, that actually looks pretty good, Ian. I got to tell you.
All right,
Did you just lick the spoon?
I did. So, how did the Black and Tans turn out?
I think pretty good. I'm seeing,
Mine
I'm
looks-
holding mine up to the light, and you can see a definite.
Mine looks like a black. Look at if you
definite
look
line.
at the if you look at the one with the camera shot with me in it, you could see that line right there. Look at that. That is pretty.
And there's mine. If you want to take a look at that, that's trying to see if I can get it to catch the light appropriately, so you can see. All right. Well, so it's been a while since I've even had a Black and Tan. So I'm looking. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers to you, sir. Good
This is
idea.
not- you did a
So
nice
that
job
was
there.
so one of the techniques I used is I held the spoon ever so slightly against the glass itself.
Yes, I kind of did the same thing so that it would like diffuse it a little more as it went in. So, yeah,
That's delicious.
it kind
Come
of
on.
is, isn't it?
That's a good
You
beer.
got to just like that. Well, Guinness. And by the way, I saw when I was picking up, because I went to Specs to get the Bass and the Guinness, and I saw in the cooler, actually, next to where I bought these Guinness cans of just regular Guinness draft, they had their Baltimore Blonde.
Their Baltimore Blonde is awesome.
Yeah, so we've
It's
talked
good
about
beer.
that on the show. We haven't actually ever done an on-show tasting.
Oh,
of
we
it.
haven't? No, it's
Yeah,
good
but,
beer.
But we should do that because it's.
All right, so I tell you what,
kinda
next week,
delicious, yeah.
I've got a couple things in my fridge that I've really been jonesing to bring. Okay, Carbach has a new beer out. I'm
Yes.
just going to tease that.
Okay, I
And-
think I may know which one you're
Now,
talking
here's
about.
the deal with Carbach. Okay, I'm not always reaching for Carbach. I think they're newer beers, and ever since ABMF took it over, I don't really want to put money in ABMF's pockets. But I will always try a new beer when they come out. Their Conservation Ale was outstanding.
It was outstanding.
We're going to try this new beer next week.
A new Carbach. Okay.
New Carbach. I also
Have you tried it yet?
Yes.
Okay.
I also have a beer from Open Gate Brewing, which is the Guinness brewing in Baltimore.
Yes, yes.
And
Is
it's
it the Baltimore Blonde or is it a different one?
No, it's a barrel aged.
Oh.
And it is. Let me bring next week's
Okay.
beers.
Ian's bringing the beers next week. You just
Do
got
you have one of the blonde ales? Or the,
I do not, but I can get that. If you want me to bring that, I'll bring
if you
it.
bring that,
Well-
let's have a little fun with
All
this.
right, but we just have to have at least one beer on the show that's lower than 14% ABV.
Okay. we can make that happen.
Okay.
All right, so I
Fair
actually didn't use my Guinness Espresso because I want to show
Now,
everyone something.
I don't have another pint glass. These are the only 2 pint glasses I brought, so you might have to drain that one in order to. Challenge accepted, ladies and gentlemen. This is a man who, he'll do what it takes to make the show
now
what
that
it
I've
needs to
emptied
be.
the pint glass,
So look how little I've had. This is like me and my wife. I usually drink like so much faster than my wife. She eats faster than I do, but I drink faster than her.
All right.
What does that mean?
I'm going to do this. Okay, I'm going to put this beer on the
Right where Mr.
formerly
Twirligig
Mr. Twirligig
would
thing,
normally
okay?
go.
Now,
yes.
keep in mind, my glass had a black and tan in there, so you're not seeing this super clear glass that you're used to seeing, but it's Guinness, and it's. I want to show everybody. Adam, you're going to have to do a little camera switching here. I want to show everybody when you buy a Guinness Draft Stout, the Guinness in a can, which is delicious, by the way. It has a nitrous ball in there that infuses it as soon as you open it. That's the little fizzy you hear. I want to show you how to pour this into a glass the proper way to make an awesome Guinness, okay? This is going to alarm you, and don't try this with other beers because you will make a mess.
Okay.
This works with Guinness, okay? So here.
And only Guinness in the can, right?
Yeah, don't do this with Guinness in a bottle. Don't try
Yeah.
this with, Buried Hatchet Stout. It's not going to work. This works with Guinness Nitro, okay? Guinness Draft Stout with the nitrous, okay? So watch. Camera on me here. I'm going to pop the beer. Oop, I just flipped the thing. Dang it, twice. Now you can,
You
hear
can
that
hear the
nitrous
nitro.
work, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, still camera on me. Watch this. Here's how we pour a Guinness out of a can.
Wow.
Now I'm going to put this over on the other camera.
Now, this is interesting because you're not moving it as it fills.
I literally dumped the can upside down into the glass and left it.
Now, is there a reason why this works with Guinness and not with other beers?
It's the nitro.
It's the nitro. Okay.
It's the nitro. Now, you notice, if your camera's still over here, you notice that I'm leaving this sit here for a second. Now you see it settled here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly lift it. And I'm going to keep doing
settled,
this.
but some of the beer was still in the can.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't move the can up on
and
its own.
I'm slowly bringing the can up so it doesn't get super foamy.
Yes. But you've got a nice head on there, which is important. Guinness, you need a nice head on your Guinness, but you don't want to just dump it in hardcore and be all foam, right?
So I'm letting it settle for a minute right before the end.
Where did you learn this? I know your wife is a Guinness lover. Did she teach these?
No, I
to you?
showed her this. A friend of mine showed me this years ago. Do you see that
That
Guinness
does look
pour
like
right
a
there?
real perfect pint of Guinness.
That
Now-
is how you pour the can of Guinness.
Now, I think it's a great instructional thing, but I'm wondering if you didn't do it just so you could drink another Guinness.
Well,
Because it's poured now. I mean, you might as well.
somebody's going to have to
Yes.
drink it.
All
Look
right.
at the head on that Guinness.
Wow. All right, Ian, let me, as we round out this segment, let me give you the top 5 while you enjoy a Guinness, and I continue to enjoy the Black and Tan, which has merged a little bit now, but it's
That's still
got,
tan on the bottom, though.
still
That's
got
pretty
more
awesome.
tan on the bottom, yeah. Let me bring you these last 5 cigars on the Cigar Snob list. Are you getting feedback on your...
I got nothing yet.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe they'd be chiming in. 'Cause
Mine
after
seems
all-
to run a little behind.
Yeah, well, there's always a delay, that happens. So, all right, let's do these top 5 cigars while you enjoy that Guinness.
All right.
Number 5, the Mi Querida Triqui Traca. I am completely unfamiliar with this
I don't
cigar.
know any of those things you said.
Querida, Querida.
I've
Mi
seen it.
Querida. It's about a $12 cigar. It is from Nicaraguan American Cigars. That's the manufacturer in Nicaragua. They say that it's an offshoot of Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust's original Mi Querida line. You can tell them apart by the band color, as the original is navy and gold, and the Triqui Traca is garnet and gold. Brand owner Steve Saka has employed catchy and memorable names for all of his brands, although many are difficult to pronounce for non-Spanish speakers. So Mi Querida is a term commonly used to mean my mistress, while Triqui Traca is Nicaraguan slang for fireworks or firecrackers. Nicaraguan closing ceremonies often involve setting off a string of firecrackers. So Triqui Traca is a reference to the sound that they make when they pop. So it's basically my mistress who's a firecracker. That's what the cigar is about. So the Triqui Traca comes in at number 5. They don't say a lot about the taste, but they tell an interesting story of where it got its name. At number 4, the Aganorsa Leaf, Connecticut. Interesting, a Connecticut wrapper cigar in the top 5, but it's a $7 to $8 cigar. They even say it's not often that a Connecticut wrap cigar reaches these heights on our annual list, but this one really is packing a lot of flavorful and strong tobacco in this cigar, and then covering it with a mild Connecticut shade wrapper. They say most of the time when you do that, the wrapper flavor gets lost, and in the worst cases, the blend goes completely off balance. But Aganorsa was able to navigate this dilemma thanks to an enviable stockpile of aged tobacco. So you've got heartier tobacco in the cigar and the lighter Connecticut shade wrapper around it, and they managed to not have it just blow that away, basically.
Nice.
But they
Aganorsa
combine.
makes great cigars.
They really do. And they're in at number 4. At number 3, the Oliva Serie V or Serie 5 Melanio Maduro. That's just an outstanding cigar. The Figurado's
I love that
$15
cigar.
and worth every penny. At 2, and I got to try one of these. I've read about it, have not smoked one. Number 2 is the My Father Fonseca.
So good.
So you've had one of these.
So good,
Okay, so
yeah.
talk to me about this. This was
So
like...
the Fonseca is a little bit more of everything you get from my father.
Yeah?
My father's cigars are hard to go wrong with.
Oh,
in
they
the
really
first
are.
place.
But Fonseca, and I've always loved Fonseca as a sort of a heritage brand. But this is This is really taking them to another height, isn't it? Yeah.
It's more complex. It's a little bit bigger profile. It's just an outstanding cigar.
At number 1, this is really interesting. This wasn't on my radar at all. The Espinosa La Araña Reserva Escuro from the San Latano factory in Nicaragua. The La Araña is a cigar that was unanimously wowed their tasting panel every time they tasted it. Impeccably box-pressed Maduro, put through the blind tasting ringer over and over, rose to the top each time. They gave it a 94, and it is their number 1 Cigar Snob magazine cigar of the year for 2020.
I've had Naranja, but I don't think I've had that cigar.
I have not had this one at all. So
the first Naranja I ever had is actually, we picked it up at the Big Smoke.
Oh, I think that's right.
There was some in that grab bag.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to trying a number of these cigars from this list. You can find them at cigarsnobmag.com. You don't have to have a subscription to get in and see the whole list, so it's definitely worth it. How's that Guinness, buddy?
Haven't tried it yet.
All right, you get on to that because we've actually got another beer to try. We've got one more beer left. In our final segment here on Smoking and Toasting, we will be tasting one that I'm actually really anxious to hear your take on, Ian. It's Westbrook. It's not like I've had a blanket tan.
That's a good Guinness.
Westbrook Brewing Company. It's the 10th anniversary peanut butter hazelnut marshmallow stout. So we'll get to that. Can you handle another beer?
Yeah.
We'll do it next. It's Smoking and Toasting.
Challenge accepted.
Show number 219.
I'm sorry, did I drink the Guinness already?
I think it's gone, yes. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. It is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Show number 219 brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com because...
Cigars.
Yep, let's do it. All right. Ian is topping that. That cap actually rolled off your arm and down towards the carpeted
pretty
floor.
awesome.
It was pretty awesome. Even though it didn't create a sound effect, it was pretty awesome. Ian's pouring our final beer here, which is looking pretty interesting.
This looks like Texas Gold, buddy.
Yeah. So this beer is one that has I've had for a month or two, and it is a Westbrook Brewing Company, which is easier to say when you haven't had any of their beers. Westbrook Brewing Company's 10th anniversary peanut butter hazelnut marshmallow stout.
Westbrook Brewing Company. Imperial Stout brewed with peanut butter, hazelnut, marshmallow, and vanilla. 10% alcohol by volume. Are you trying to get me drunk? I'm already your friend.
I'm not the guy that downed the Guinness in one gulp there.
I'm already your friend. I'm probably not wearing pants right now anyway.
Well, generally you aren't, so that's the thing. But
for our 10th anniversary, we imagine a nutty, roasty, and gooey combination of peanut butter, roasted hazelnuts, and marshmallows. Thank you for all the fabulous 10 fabulous years.
So, and these guys, Westbrook Brewing Company, I didn't write it down in my show notes. I usually do, but can you look on the bottle? Where are these guys from, Ian? It should tell us there on the bottle.
Westbrook Brewing Company
Westbrook, Connecticut, maybe?
Mount Pleasant, South Carolina.
Oh, I was completely wrong. Westbrook Brewing Company, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina.
Yeah, you were in the neighborhood, nowhere near it.
Holy moly. Have you tasted this?
No, I haven't tasted it yet.
Okay.
I'm just going
to wait and let you taste it because then we got to talk.
This is pretty fresh. This is 12/7/20. Mm-hmm. That's when it was made. It smells great.
I think I got
peanut
it
butter
around,
smell.
I think I got it around Christmas time.
Oh my gosh, the hazelnut and peanut butter.
So I'm just going to tell you, a lot of times when they try to put peanut butter into beer, I feel like it doesn't really work all that well. In this case, it works splendidly.
This is a showstopper.
It really is, isn't it? And this is coming out after a show where we had like one of the greatest IPAs we've ever had, perhaps, on the show. That's from Untitled Art in Parish. We had the whiskey from Wild Turkey, the Long Branch, which we were very impressed with. We actually were pretty impressed with ourselves with the Black and Tans. And now a showstopper of a beer. This is, I will tell you, this is about a $30 bottle of beer. But I'm gonna tell you, I believe it's living up to it. I mean,
let me put this on the price to quality at $30 for a 750 ml of this beer.
Mm-hmm.
At $30, I'm gonna put this at least at a 5 because Holy smoke balls, Batman.
Listen, if you think about it this way, some people say, well, why would you spend $30 for a 750 milliliter bottle of beer? Think about it like this. Think about it like,
How much is a bottle of champagne?
yeah, exactly. You're buying a bottle of champagne. You're buying a bottle of wine, like a really nice wine. Even if your normal wine price is closer to $10, every now and then you're going to go, let's buy a little more expensive. Let's celebrate. Let's splurge. Let's buy a nicer bottle.
Let's
of
imagine.
So that's how I look at
Let's
something
imagine
like
we
this.
just sat down. We had a steak dinner that we put on the grill, and then we topped that off with a dark chocolate mousse.
Oh, dude.
And then I
then
said,
you
you know
opened this.
what?
Yeah.
Here we go. And I cracked this bottle open, and I pour each of us a small glass of this.
I don't remember what it was specifically, but I know that I remember that the first time that you and your wife came over to my house.
You were living in a high rise over in the Galleria area.
Over the Galleria. And I remember going into the refrigerator and pulling out something. I don't remember now what it was, but it was something like this. And we kind of bonded over that, I thought.
I think so.
That was like, it was one of those special moments where we go, man, this beer is good. Man, this beer is good. And then we started, talking about beers, talking about cigars.
In Disney speak, we were Twitter-pated.
Is that Disney speak? I like it. Well, all I can tell you about the Westbrook 10th anniversary is yes, if you can get your hands on a bottle of this, even if it is $30.
I love
the viscosity
this. It
of
has
motor
the
oil.
viscosity of mud.
Yeah.
It's...
And you know what? Have you ever had a mud pie? Like I'm talking about the dessert mud pie.
Yeah.
And it's delicious. Yeah, this is just as good. I want to say thank you to all of the incredible people who went into fashioning the incredible drinks we've had on this show today, because this is why it reminds me. I saw my wife this morning. I woke up in kind of like a weird mood, and I was a little snippy. And about mid-morning, as I was beginning to pull my stuff together to come to the show, I went to my wife and I was like, I'm just a complete a-hole. I totally apologize. I'm about to go drink like amazing beers, make a black and tan, talk about cigar. Like this is such a great thing to get to do.
You're the worst person ever.
And I am the worst person ever, and I accept that mantle. But I thank you, my friend, for being here and being a part of Smoking and Toasting as we say goodbye for show number 219, brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. We'll see you next week when we'll be doing Super Bowl cocktails, my friends, with Chris Morris. See you then, and cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.